We had too many lists to cover in the time allotted on our previous episode, so here's some additional coverage of more of the lists from Nova with my special guests, Mike and Rob. So next up, okay, we didn't know this. We didn't know this going into the tournament. They had previewed all the lists, but there was some late ads in the tournament. And I got to hang out with Andy Bolts this weekend. So he was the guy that showed up with a Chimera list. And it looked like going in, like the room would have been soft to a Chimera. And he did smash almost everybody with a Chimera list. Now, it wasn't the typical Nurgle Chimera list. He gave people a fighting chance. He ran a Bloodkind with Axe and Shield, a Great Bray Shaman, a Gore with Weapon and Shield, and an Ungore with Spear and Shield. So a total of 5 models, 990 points.
I love the energy. Just going. I'm gonna bring the scariest thing, but I'm not gonna be a total. Especially because I was laughing when I heard that the Chimera list showed up after the video where they said, "Oh, I think Chimera might do really well." But I respect going 5 miles. Like I said, I love elite list. I just played. I played our TTS tournament with a 3 model Chimera list for the same reason. I didn't want to be too aggro with all of the little guys running all over the place. I was like, let me give everybody a shot to still kill it. And it's a cool list though. I think I love Great Bray Shamans. That pull is neat. Whenever I've played them, I like to use their reaction to try to almost make them into a little more anvil pieces because they can just drop down the hits character or the damage from hits. So the 20 wounds you can kind of spread out a little bit more. You can just pull stuff into big stuff and kind of neat. But there's a lot of board control here with the Dragon Maul and the double on the Great Bray. You can really do some interesting things.
Yeah, if you look at his tournament there, he was crushing everybody. And then in the last round of the pool play, he actually played against Javi, who we're going to cover here in just a sec. Javi's playing a horde list, and this was an objective mission. So he got smoked on this objective mission with the 5 model list. And then going into the single elim, he had a field day again. Actually, he had a pretty tight game versus Gray on Skaven, I think. But a pretty easy 4-1 day for Andy there.
Man, that game against Gray, I'm just imagining how many wound counters you would have needed to be able to keep up with that game with a Chimera, and because he had the Storm Fiends, I think. A lot of damage on that table.
Yep. So we got another Northern Virginia ringer here. We got Javi Martinez. He played Horns of Hashut at AC Open and played a variation of it here. So he went full horde mode with Horns of Hashut. Played a leader, Ruinator Alpha with a flail. 3 Demolishers with Flame Hurlers. Not 2, but 3. 5 Shatterers. And fill out the list with a couple Raptorixes for a total of 11 models, 985 points.
So he's a good friend of mine, and we played. He's the reason I got into competitive Warcry to start with. He got me to ACO. He talked me into going to Nova. We played, and I think he kicked my butt for 3 months straight. I don't think I took a win off this guy. He is one of the most methodical, meticulous players you could ever imagine. And the list thought, as we were talking about his list when we were building it, he's like, it'd be better than 2 Demolishers, 3. I'm like, yeah, totally. Like that was it. That was the list. I was like, yeah, if they kill 1, you still got 2. Like there was nothing else. And the poor guy gets so much hate because they are really oppressive model pieces with that triple.
Yeah, Peter was cussing it out the whole time. It's like, oh, it's so broken. Yeah. You guys are right about Javi, about him being methodical. I got the privilege of playing him once in a pickup game as well.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's very well thought out and structured, very tight mind. I had the privilege of sitting next to the table when he played against the Chimera list, and I think in the one activation of one hurler, he double bracketed the Chimera.
Oof.
And the guy was going off, and he's awesome dude too, hilarious guy, and he was going off about how the flamethrower should hit his own units in there, because the flamethrower's hitting
Yeah.
in an area. And he goes, it breaks the immersion of this game. And then Hobby just looks at me and goes, yeah, but I guess the towering 3-headed monster doesn't break the immersion of reality. So like it was awesome watching them. And the poor guy plays so well that nobody's like, hey, really great job handling those fragile shatterers and positioning on points and taking a list that doesn't have really a hammer or an anvil, just has really good abilities. Everyone's just like, I hate your flamethrower. And that, like, he just gets straight hate. So I think he's hanging it up for this TTS league because he's just like, I'm done with it. I'm done hearing about it.
He's trying to make friends now. He's
trying to be a big boy now, have friends.
They are oppressive. I played against Horns once or twice, and yeah, they're very, very hard to play against. But so besides Demolishers, because I know he didn't play straight Horde like this at ACO. I think he had.
No, he did.
Oh, it was
did
three.
he?
Yeah, there was
Did
three
he have three?
Demolishers.
Did he have 3 flame hurlers and go wide, 11 models wide at ACO?
He didn't have the
Okay.
Raptorixes. He just had more
Okay.
Shatterers.
Oh, I'm thinking a different list from Kansas City leading up to it that we reviewed. It was Horns of Hashut with only 2 Demolishers, but it had the Fomo Crusher. I like that mix. I think I like that list a little bit more for having having a big threat, because if you look at the matchups here, Javi went up against Justin, and this
That
in
was
the
Reaper
semifinals.
too.
Yeah, that was Reaper.
Mhm.
And not a good matchup for Javi here, because he had nothing big to really threaten the Crushers. I think he tried to make if I remember how this game played out correctly, I think Javi made a play at trying to burn down a Crusher and get it off the table to try to even it out, but it didn't work, and then the Crusher just had a field day.
And it's so hard to, like, in that mission when you're kind of doing this like AoE damage and your whole plan is to just wipe out Chaff in like 2 activations. That's really good in Reaper for that round, but then you're left with it's really hard to score outside of that after you've cleaned up all of the easy pieces, and then you've just got these monsters bearing down on you. So it's shown what I think. I respect him for playing him just because nobody wanted to throw him on a table competitively. And he just looked at it and said, these profiles are too good to not play. And yeah, clearly it's an effective list, and the models do exactly as advertised.
Yeah. And so we kind of talked about the Shatterers a little bit, but I want to just do a side-by-side comparison here. So what makes the Shatterers so insane? And I didn't realize this at first either, right? Because but for 55 points, compare it to a Flagellant, or there's a couple other similar profiles as well. You pay 10 points more for something very similar. 10 wound model, move 4, but there's not a whole lot different, right? Flagellant gets 1 extra attack, 1 fewer point of crit. Here for Shatterer, you're paying 10 less points, 2 inches of range, an extra point of crit. Like the value on that is so pushed compared to other Chaff models.
When you look at max damage between those two, say again, that's not a good necessarily metric to really establish, but max damage on the Flagellant is, if you roll 4 crits, is 12 damage. Max on the Shatterer is 12 damage, right? So you can, it's not like you're getting past the other one, and they're still both hitting for 1 damage on a strength 3 attack. So I think that the range is probably a little undercosted in the Karn edition. I think 2 and 3 inch. In some instances, I guess you look at stuff like Claws of Karanak, and clearly that range and a lot of the ability, but those 3 inch range Chaff are just unusable because of their
90 points, right? This
is
55 points, 10 wounds.
Some of them,
so you can't just get them off.
There's some 3 inch Chaff that's really too expensive, and then you got Marauders and Wardens. They're pretty cheap.
Yeah, Lumineth are kind of wild for it too. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like it needs to be up a little more, probably 10 points for 2 inch and 3 inch range stuff. Just because it changes how you play against things so drastically, because you're essentially forcing people to dump an extra activation when they want to engage with it a lot of the time. It lets you get there first and then get only one attack at you, which is huge.
Yep. But that points difference too. 10 points. If you talk about 10-point difference between a 200 to 210 point model, that's one thing. But between a 55 and a 65, that's a world of difference.
Yeah. Well, and that's an attestation to the numerous profiles in Cities of Sigmar that are completely unusable.
Yeah. Very true.
That's wild. They don't get reactions though. That's the big point. I don't think we discussed on it. Shatterers do not get the reactions that any of the Demolishers or Ruinators get. So they get counter. So someone could be like, they're 55 points because they don't have a reaction. Like, I'll take the no reaction for the straight gold. Like, that's completely fine.
But they can use the universal one still, just not the faction.
They could use counter.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
They don't have the other one though.
Yeah, because you got to be a Demolisher at least.
Right.
Perfectly balanced. Don't touch them. Leave them at 55, right, GW?
Buff everything else to compensate.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I'm good with that too. Let's get the Flagella 6 attacks on there, right? Crank them up. Let them go wild. Flagellates everywhere. Flagellating every single game.
Right. That's all I want to see old men hit themselves. That's what I wake up for.
The Raptrix, I think, is one that I just haven't. I so frequently just shy away from the Chaos Thralls. I've seen people play Furies. They're super delicate, and the Raptrix, the 5 move is nice. You get it. It's the fastest thing in the list, I think. It's the profile, the damage is pretty much exactly the same as a Shatter. Except a little bit stronger, -1. So I mean, it was smart to just chuck him in there, especially for the tournament. I think I talked to him about it, and he said he wasn't super happy with this version of the list, but he kind of had been not super engaged with Warcry, but still wanted to get in on it. So it wasn't necessarily his favorite version of a list to bring for this pack necessarily. But again, goes an attestation again to how good a player he is and how just good a core that these Horns of Hashut are.
He could have brought 3 more Shatterers, right?
So the idea behind the Raptrix, from what we talked about, was the base size being able to kind of block charge lanes to keep his to keep his what's it called, his hurlers safer. They're a little bit more scrappier than the Shatterers. They have a little bit more life. They're quicker. He comes from the school of thought. He and I are very different. When I first started, I just want to throw dice and slam down, play Titans, just play some good old kitchen table Warcry. He's from the point, he's like, if I don't have to roll dice, I never will. I just want to beat you with speed and objective placement. And that's where the Raptrix thinking, that's where the Shatter thinking all comes into.
Yeah. No, ideally, you're crying by the end of the game because of how.
Yeah, you're just sad. And you're like, why don't you throw dice? Why don't you throw dice, tough guy? And then he's just like, well, I just won 20-3. So.
No, you're absolutely right. Warcry and then Kill Team as well. These skirmish games. I mean, combat and throwing dice matters, but ultimately, a lot of these games are games of movement and positioning.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And the principle kind of I've learned from local guy Zach, who won Dan's first tournament. He played Seraphon, and I've talked to him about it. And the less you have to straight up rely on the dice, the less the probability can come back to hurt you. So guaranteed damage on certain things is also really good. Sometimes it's costly, but just being able to those charge style abilities where you just get the value of the dice as damage. You don't get to decide anything. There's no reaction. There's no nothing. You just die sometimes. So, those can be really powerful as well, and just avoid, the randomness that is inherent in the game, which can be really powerful too.
So moving on with just a few more lists here, going down the standings a little bit. We had Andrew Elliott, 3-1-1 with the, I thought someone had coined some catchy phrase for it.
Overthinking Lizards. I had it.
Thunder Lizards. That was what it was. Thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue.
You're good.
Yep.
I think he called this Thunder Skinks. I think that was his. I think he kind of iterated on the name and called them Thunder Skinks officially.
Thunder Skinks.
But I don't know. I don't think that was the original name, though. I think Overthinking Warcry, I think, put this kind of version out first. It was after Dan did Thick Boy Cardio, and I can't Starblood Cardio or something like that. I just can't remember the exact name of it. I think it's on the blog.
I think Thunder Skinks is way more catchy.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I hate the list though. I played this in Tabletop Simulator tournament recently, and man, it was good, and I didn't like how good it was against me.
If it pops off and it gets to position and the dice right, it feels like a blender just taking you out.
Yeah, setting up coordinated strike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. And then
the spikes are so high with Kixie and Autopaddle.
Yep, Talk, Autopaddle, Kixie. He had the strength on Kixie Taka too. For the blessing, I believe. Oh no, that was for this one.
For Nova.
My apologies. He was also in our TTS league. Prior, he was also my draw, and he was before we came into this, we were 2-2 against each other in like casual match play of just practicing the list with one another. So I knew coming into this was a coin flip because those annihilators having 6 toughness, Hrathi's hitting on 4s, not 3s, and there's 20 wounds. So if I miss or I like miscalculate anything, I'm going to get punished and slammed because Rippas aren't going to do anything against them. My bosses need to crit against them to be effective because they're hitting on 5s. So it was kind of a nightmare matchup. And he ended up getting a tournament quest to tie the match against me. And that was where the draw came from. But he's a really tight player and he knows the lists in and out. But he did roll 12 on the trap, or I rolled the 12 on the trap against the Annihilator. And I killed 2 other Annihilators. So, take that. But no, he's a fantastic player. And if
super
you don't
nice
get
guy,
rid
too.
of, super nice guy, like such a great dude. And if you don't get rid of Calthea, it just, the overbearing weight of gonna make a move, gonna attack, it just takes you out of combat real quick. And I feel like it's almost like it's a gatekeeping list against newer players because you're just going to be like, wait a minute, you got like 3 moves from those guys, and all of a sudden they're in your face and you're just getting pummeled. So it's a really good list. He's a really good pilot, and it's annoying. I also hate Starblood Stalkers. I'm tired of seeing them.
I'm on that.
I'm done with them.
Against them. They always destroy me.
Done with it.
They're so good in order. They fill in so many holes what so many factions are looking for. Kixie's ability is unreal for a triple, and he gives
9 inches too.
Yeah,
it's 9
it's
inches.
Unreal. Yeah, here's your move and your toughness buff for a 125-point model that's got 6-inch move, and then Autopaddle is just great for just plugging away. Just keep double shooting whenever you can. The crits are gonna start coming, and then the mobility again. Like, I mean, you compare it. This list is so good because you've got the punch and you've also got the mobility.
Yeah. You get these guys at 6-inch move, and then I the biggest selling point to me is the fact that you can play. You have the punch of Stormcast, but you get to play 8 models. Where normally you're playing 7 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just, I mean, and the additional synergy of, like, you want the Annihilators in there doing the fighting with their toughness and their damage, and then the other stuff can just plink the entire time. You know, anything that's not engaged from so far away that, like, you know, you're not dumping everything into one small area so that as soon as there's a kill, you can move on. You know, the ranged attacks being good. And so far away, like Kixie's got the 7-inch wizard profile, and then these 2 guys both have 12s. Autopaddle's got the double if he needs to shift if there's nothing near him to get in range, basically. So yeah, it's just they work so well together. And Andy again, I agree with Rod that he pilots them so well. Just really understands what they're supposed to be doing and where they need to be at the right time. And it was cool to watch him play it. It hurt a lot, but it was really cool to watch how well he did with them.
So now that you mentioned this, I missed the breakdown. I'm curious to see what his path was and how where he took a loss or something. He might have had some bad luck in the pool play there. It looks like. Moving on, we got Casey Van Camp on KO. A little bit different take on KO here. He a typical KO list, but he's got a errant quester with a grand hammer in there as well, and different volley gun. He's got a flyer with a volley gun in there, but still has the rest of the core there. 11 models, 985 points.
those questers they're just so good for, and again, another really great order piece. Like they're a little bit more expensive, but they also bring, like this one, obviously the crit damage doesn't really get you too excited, but it's so consistent damage with that 3/4 profile. It's toughness 6, so you're getting those threes, or sorry, strength 6, but you're getting those that 3 damage so consistently. But just the added flexibility that they provide in their abilities is just, I mean, again, another one that you love to have it in any order list where you've got these really slow plotting beasts stomping around waiting for killing.
I think that the Soulsworn Questers are like the Gobblepalooza for Order. And I feel like Order is like a few pieces of way of being able to soup something out of control because of all the extra activations they can make off either the Questers or off of Calthea. And it's kind of scary and terrifying where they're going to be heading soon with like another warband coming out. And I'm kind of eager and excited to see it. But, I'm just also going to throw it out there. It's going to be strength 3, 1/3, range 8 shots. So who cares?
Oh, the shooters for those guys.
Yeah. I take it back. Everything I just said. Never mind. It's terrible.
I'm looking forward to everything being crazy bad and low like output and bad abilities. But then having the Arbalester being another Hrothgorn, Order Hrothgorn, get him really souped up on damage. I don't think that'll be the case, but.
So here was our this was the loser in the Battle of the Dwarves here. I don't follow Fire Slayers a whole lot. I know Tabletop Beyond covered a little bit more about the various profiles in this one, and they also did a Fire Slayer specific episode.
We were actually just talking about these guys the other day.
Last night.
Yeah, you've been trying to help build a list with these guys, and I think the Hearthguard are the ones that have the ranged attack, right?
The Auric ones have the ranged attack, and on the double, they reduce your movement to half the value of the dice, and I think that's a really, really interesting ability for the Auric. It's like Encase in Molten or something like that on a double. And then they have the Hearthguard Berserkers. The Poleaxe one's good. I like the other one that has the 5 strength but 1 less crit. They're really phenomenal for their value. They have they just feel okay compared to like what KO do or what other like IJ wants to fight, and I'd have no problem putting IJ into a Fire Slayer match. But like there's nothing wrong with them. Like they can really put out some output with the Auric Runefather blessing AoE strength. I think they're really cool. They got a new warband coming out that looks sick. It's hard to root against them. They're just berserker dwarves. Like it's the coolest thing ever. like what do you want?
They're such a good, like, just robust core. Like, just, I mean, dwarves in general right now, right? All dwarves are just playable. That's just the rule. Your floor of what they can do is still going to be pretty good. This is I mean, Auric Runefather, it's hard not to want to bring that model. He's got that the 2-inch range on him, and it's just a great model too. Like, it's really hard to say no to it. But you can just get so many bodies in with these guys as well. And again, like don't have a quick math in my head right now on it, but like there's so many wounds in this list with all of these essentially chaff models that you're gonna have to plug through, these 5 toughness for guys that are shirtless, which is awesome. Like, and they're just I think they need to get to like a jump up a couple of levels. I think they need some more allies that really synergize well with them. I mean, I'm sure here's an easy statement to make, but I'm sure Starblood would be great with you get the mobility, you get some output, bringing something maybe like a Kurnoth Hunter or something like that with them too. But obviously you can stay. The coolest part about this list for me is that it's all in faction, not a single ally to be had. This is all just orange bearded baddies coming at you.
I mean, if you could do something along the lines of like a bunch of cheap Fire Slayers, a leader, and then like 2 Akkelian Kings or like a Medusa or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be
just
sick.
use them to do your heavy lifting.
Yep. Yeah, no, that'd actually, I'll write that on the list of stuff to try.
Let's go. Let's put it up even more. Let's put a Soulsworn Quester in there to double up on the Akkelian King to give him 10 free inch move right off the rep.
Mm-hmm.
And just have cheap, value orientated 3-inch move, half naked daddies coming at you.
Yeah, just yeah. I think this is not enough people are playing them, I think, to really see what their top potential is. But I think this is really cool to see that they're at their core, they are at worst, 3-2, coming second in the second bracket at a big event. Sorry, not to say at their worst, but that's their potential when you just use the faction.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more tweaking that can go on with these guys to really make them really, really scary. But again, I respect all dwarves on the table. Gotta stick with the theme. Don't get weird with the allies. Make it feel real.
I don't know. You need
So-
your Gandalf there. You need some
That's
sort of tall
right.
guy. You got to balance it out. You got to break the eyesight line over here.
So moving on to another strong core here. This shows again the core of Cruel Boys and what you can do with it here. Not bringing in Hrothgorn, but instead using a Tyrant, a Brugit to back him up. So really one big threat, but again, kind of shows what you can do using Cruel Boys as a base for your destruction soup.
Yeah, I think the Tyrant. I tried finding a Tyrant list. I really wanted to get comfortable with. I love the model. It's just a big dude throwing a bucket of dice, hitting even harder. And then if he's netted, he has a ranged output to kind of with no minimum to throw. So it's pretty sweet. And what 42 wounds? He's the Titan of Titanists, right?
Yeah, you're not
He's
killing
just
him.
a big dude.
You
Right?
gotta,
Yeah, you're not gonna.
You gotta lob everything into him, and everything you're chucking in is also dying, by the way. So just
Right. It's the only question on this one is the pot grot over a stab grot. I'm a big min max man myself. Pot grot, stab grot, both 45 points. Stab grot has one more toughness. Both have the same wounds. I guess he wants to use the triple to heal something off the pot grot. Is my only question about this list.
I looked and I saw the same thing, so I was wondering the same thing as well, but.
I think he was a newer player from what I recall talking to him briefly. The kill of boss with flails just really good. You give them a double for venom encrusted weapons. They're house and stuff. It's just Rippas are great when you get the reaction, but once they get stuck into fighting, they just kind of poke, and that's it. The wet noodle you.
I mean the wounds in this list though, those gut rippers, 5 of those are what, 75 plus your 42 from the Tyrant, 12 on the Brugit. Potgrot has 6 or 8, 6 maybe.
Right.
Kiloboss
28 on the Kiloboss.
Yeah, I mean you're not getting tabled. That's for sure.
No.
You're playing with models all the way through, no matter what. It's got a lot of staying power to it. And then when you're shipping that Tyrant around and clearing off the rest of the board, all of a sudden it looks better and better the further the game goes in. So it's cool. It's definitely. I'd be curious. I didn't see the deployments for this one, but having a gut ripper running around with that Tyrant was probably going on, I'd imagine. Just to economize those reactions too. Which
if you check out the spreadsheet, I think it was these. I think it was Tyrant Brugit Pot Grot in a single deployment group.
Okay, and if you does it too.
In the read-only version of this sheet, I'm going to make this available in the show notes if you guys want to check it out and dig a little bit deeper. Has the deployment groups that went into everything, the missions, a lot more detail here.
Cool.
It's interesting. For 2 doubles, you essentially give Tyrant 7 attacks, and then Tyrant runs 7 inches, has a 9-inch threat to roll 7 dice, hitting on 3s, 4, 8. It's pretty terrifying.
Very.
But he has to do so much heavy lifting, and if he's using on the maw path, he's not doing a double for another free move or free attack. So it's a lot of decision making within that realm of what are you doing. Everything pivots around that Tyrant.
Right.
And if he gets netted, it's kind of like a big, huge loss, except for you can throw some stuff like we talked about. It's interesting. It's an interesting list.
Yeah, it's nice to have a good plan B, plan C, right? Kill a boss and an Ardbite boss are pretty good additional plans.
Yeah, and it goes to show that people are really messing with Cruel Boys now too, trying out some more stuff and seeing what I'm curious to see what a more melee oriented version of a list that can do really, really well does within Cruel Boys.
Yeah. Gray. Let's go.
Yeah, so moving on, we got Gray Rostron here, our Skaven representative. So he played a Warlock Bombardier, 2 Storm Fiends, one with Doomflare gauntlets, one with Rattling Cannons. Using 3 Storm Vermin with Halberd and Shield, and then with the points left over, had 1 Clan Rat with Spear. 7 models, 995 points.
I love double Storm Fiend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
he had
wild.
a pretty good run. I think he had a pretty close match against Andy. Could have gone 4-1 as well, but came up a little short. The Storm Fiends probably had, probably one of the few models that can really threaten a Chimera.
Yeah. Or I mean,
The,
Gutlord too, right? Start punching holes through those things. They've got Gutlord's got 32 wounds, and you're all you got to do. It's an even number of attacks for a Storm Fiend to get through.
Yeah, so he inspired me to go get more, or to start working on. Well, I got a handful of Storm Fiends already, but to get more Storm Fiends, finally get one with the Rattling Cannons. I'm pretty sure it's by far the best ranged one. I'm a big fan of the Doomflare gauntlets, but the Grinder Fists are also a good option.
It's hard to find a bad one. They're all pretty playable.
Yeah, he's yet again another great dude. He was another guy from ACO. And he played a Skaven list down there, and I did a lot of testing on TTS with him with this. And the list can be kind of wacky and can get out of control real fast. 7 models, like there was a couple objective lists here, but you have so much presence, so much threat projection, so much speed. He would throw the Storm Vermin on the Warlock Bombardier, so like he could just free shoot things. It was really cool. It was really cool to see him with this, and I know that you're a fellow Ratman too, so I think with Scabbat coming out, I know he's going to be reworking his list.
I think
with that in there.
Yeah, I think he's been brewing a lot of lists on Discord. Yeah, the 7 models is the hardest thing. I play more Rat Ogres and Pack Masters, but it's really, really hard, or I find it hard to play with 7 models. I really, really like having 8 models and being a little bit closer in activation advantage and not trying to fight from behind.
Yeah.
So, again, you really can't avoid it. Skaven are going to play relatively elite if you're going to do well, either building around Rat Ogres or Storm Fiends, because they just have crazy efficiency and movement. But there's definitely, if you want to go big and not have to play around having your Pack Masters on the table, Storm Fiends don't need babysitting, and they do a lot of good work themselves. And even the Rattling Cannon one, with the 3-4-4-8 melee profile, I talked with Gray. He said it was also very, very solid. You just have to know when to use it. There's some situations where you want to have him standing back and shooting, and there's other ones where you need to get him in there and you need to be making use of that melee profile. And that's what really kind of like separates the men from the boys there with the Storm Fiend.
Yeah, for sure.
With elite lists in general, like I really like it because I'm always trying to play like my perfect game, right? Like I'm playing an opponent, but like I always feel like more than anything I'm playing myself, and I want to make my best move possible every single time. And with elite lists, you kind of have to anyway, but there's also fewer opportunities to not make those. And so I really like playing this like really structured and intentional game with everything. And that again, like he said about that Rattling Cannon, you got to know when you're getting in there, and you got to know when you're sitting back and firing away. And I personally really like that play style. It's really fun for me. Sounds like Gray's not afraid to get a little scary in the numbers for some people too, getting nice and low.
Yeah, it's fun to optimize it. It's just a lot of times I know when I'm not playing it optimally, or I purposely can't play optimally. Like I can't move this guy off an objective or something like that.
Yeah. And you're dice reliant too, right? If the dice aren't going your way, you're losing. So
yeah, he's not afraid of that, and I respect him, because I think the thought of even putting 7 models on the table terrifies me. I was talking to Mike about it. He's like, he played 3 models. I had a panic attack when I read that. And it's just like, to me, the sweet spot's 8 to 9, like you were talking about, trying to not have to fight off the back foot for activation so hard. And he's just like, I don't care, I'm going to put 7 models down. Like his attitude is so good. in this game of just like, let's have fun, but let's try our best, but then not being fearful of anything. It's like a superpower, man. I don't think I could do 7 models if I tried. Like, I'd probably be like, it's not a good list, I'm changing it. Like,
he's got some good flex in there too, though. Like that.
Yep.
I mean, it's built really well because that Bombardier can, really soften stuff up with 15 inches. The Rattling Cannon can also soften stuff up. Like it's a really well built list for an elite list. And I say that not playing a ton of Skaven, but just kind of glancing at it real quick. And yeah, I'd throw it on a table. I'd get into it.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, we had the list with the most models in it. Kyle, and I got to see Kyle play and chat with him. So he is another pretty skillful player. Like the things that he was able to do, and the things I heard about, the tricks I heard about him pulling off against people were insane for this tournament.
Yeah, he's a big dude's a great guy. I'm also running an event with him in November. He's a big wants to play the unknown, untested, unplayed warbands. He played in our TTS tournament, Shadow Stalkers, if that gives you any indication of how he plays. I think he did a 16 damage pack tactics.
Yep.
Against
an Annihilator.
Against an Annihilator.
Incredible.
And right, it's awesome, and he plays the list really well. And if we were talking about my list before, the biggest problem I have is this list. If I ran into him, he would flatten me because the Baron just makes things dance fast. He can have that double to sound the hunt, and he just runs people right into engagement, can't shoot them. He's got a great list, 13 models, and he doesn't care. Kill a 55-point ghoul. He does not care. He's gonna just blow you up on a triple. It's insane.
Thankfully, it's not the same as the Flesh Eater ghouls, where they have that really incredible reaction to just suck an attack away from you. But
baffling parlay.
I mean, yeah, if it was the same ghouls, this would be I think probably closer to 4-1, 5-0, just because of how good those chaff are. But it was cool talking to him a little bit about just his build concepts with this faction, and I know he's working on some other versions of these guys that I hope I never play. I hope I never have to play against them because they sound absolutely fantastic and really cool ideas behind what he does with it. And like you said though, the Baron just so good for just shifting stuff around. And I mean, mad props for bringing at that point one of the 2 newest warbands, right? Full new warbands. Yeah. So
yeah.
Anytime someone's got that good turnaround time, you get bonus points from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him play, and he had a bunch of ghouls on the board, and it was like he was trying to solve a puzzle with the board state. Like, okay, this is what I need to do to win. Like, okay, you gotta go move this guy here, move this guy here, pack tactics or whatever. Right? Yeah. And so you have the ability to do that oftentimes with that many models, right? Because they're going to be out of activations, and then okay, I can do whatever I want now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just the flexibility and you're playing like an 8-9 model list, and you get done, and all of a sudden he's got 8-9 activations to go because he's just been waiting on some stuff. It can get pretty out of hand, I think, with the volume and the value that you can get from the double, from the Baron, and just not being afraid to waste half an activation with a ghoul, basically, because you got so many of them.
So I don't know how many we got left here. Okay, this is our last list from Nova. So we got Thomas Arthur representing Bone Splitters, actually. Interesting inclusion. Looks like a lot of his work is getting done by the 2 Bolt Boy bosses, actually.
Oh my goodness, this is a list.
I didn't really dig into this before, but reminds me a lot of his Adepticon list, where he brought the Razor Dons in Seraphon, where he just loves really shipping that damage all over the map with some really nasty pieces. So yeah, this is cool to see.
This is awesome. I was clowning on Bone Splitters a couple nights ago with some friends, but this is exciting news. Looking at this, double hungry across the board between charged aim shot, venom encrusted weapons, But if you don't come and engage that the Bolt Boy bosses, you're getting picked down, and then he's coming in and cleaning up. It's pretty smart. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Thomas is another real fun guy to just hang out with and chat to, and his hobby is also really exquisite, and always there's two tournaments I've seen him bring stuff to that's just really unique ideas behind what he's building with. So it's really and I mean I would wager that this was the TO's MVP for Justin. I know how much he loves his skin boys. So and it didn't go 1-4 like I think Dan had said all that was the joke they were saying that all of these guys after Justin was talking them up like everybody's gonna fall in love with Bone Splitters and then they're gonna go 1-4. So props to Thomas for piloting them to 3-2.
It's a moral victory.
Right.
Right.
So besides the Nova list, we got a couple other lists for you. You might not have seen them. So there was a tournament in Norway as well, the NORCRY tournament, and I got 3 lists here to go over as well. So I just got their Discord names here. So Captain Awful, I think, is the Norwegian champion.
Mm-hmm.
Took first place with an Ogres list. Similar to the Double Trouble list, he's got 1 Gut Lord, 1 Iron Gut, a Lead Belcher, and then 2 Brugits, Lugget and Thwack, Quiv, and Bushwhacka. So he drops a model, but instead he has a third threat within the Lead Belcher that can kind of do a little bit of range damage.
Did they do you know what I can't remember what the pack was. Was it Rumble or was it just a custom pack that they put together?
I want to say it was Salty's pack, but I can't.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Okay. And that's a pack that's kind of built to be balanced, and this is a good list to play balance with too. It's a cool idea downgrading the Gut Lord to an Iron Gut, and getting your 45 points to mess with. That's a really cool.
You drop Shriek and you gain 100 points there too.
Yeah. Yep. For
Shriek's
sure.
Yeah,
good.
this is
Shriek's good for the movement, but if you wanna focus on getting a third threat in there, that's probably the cut.
You've got you've got 3 models that can move 7 in 1 activation, and one of them probably doesn't need to move. Doesn't need the double with that Lead Belcher to just start plugging away with the old cannon there. So it's interesting to add a ranged piece into the Gut Lord smash list. It's and obviously effective, right? Came first.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. You also lose the basic Noblar as well.
Okay.
So all of your cheap guys are the old 1.0, a little bit tougher ones.
Which is getting rid of a regular Noblar as an opponent of this list. I would be very appreciative because it's much easier to identify Lugget and Thwack, Quiv, and Bushwhacka as models on the table.
That's for sure. It's a very interesting list. I think it's really cool. It's a nice spin on it.
You're not as all in on the two. The Lead Belcher gives some flexibility in there for sure. And realistically, the difference between the Iron Gut and the Gut Lord, you're still killing most stuff. 4 wounds and slightly less damage. You're a little bit more worried about 10 wound chaff versus 8 wound chaff.
Right.
But I'll take 2 inches, projecting 2 inches of terrifying Ogre Aura for 4/8 damage hitting on 3s most of the time. I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you want to compare these two, right, for 45 points, you don't have the gross 5/10 profile. You're down to a 4/8 profile, and you lose 4 wounds and a hero rune mark. So
do you lose the bonus attacker move?
No.
Might makes right.
That's a hero.
Makes right. It's a hero rune mark.
Okay,
yeah.
So I guess that is kind of that's probably one of the bigger differences then. But you might need to be onslaughting potentially more with this guy anyway. So the damage output is just bonkers.
Yeah, Captain Awful brings good lists to every NORCRY tournament, like meta-defining lists that you can take elsewhere.
Yeah. And he's probably, I'm guessing the Brugit was with the Iron Gut too, so I guess you're not onslaughting, you're Brugiting. And then, some flex after that too, so.
In second place, we had Krister with a shell based on Nurgle Demons. This is similar to like what Fred plays with Nurgle Demons and 2 big hammers. His choice of hammers was a Doom Bull at 280 and a Vanguard with Spear at 280. And then he fills it in with Plague Ridden and 7 Plague Bears. 1,000 points even, 10 models.
Love it when you get that even 1K points. Always fun. The Doom Bull, the Beast of Chaos, that first round is really nice with that 5 move. Just pop that double. I guess no, it's the value of the ability I think for their first round, but still getting your big piece in. Any
Grey Herd Ambush.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's the one. But anytime you're getting a move on a double, even though chances are you're probably getting a 4-up double, so almost as a full movement on a double for that first round is really nice. Then you can start smashing.
Yep.
I'm surprised about the spear instead of just the blade for the.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, the spear versus the blade hurts me to see it, but I know why he did it because if you want to get if you want to get those models in the Doom Bowl, you don't have the points any other way.
Yeah, and there's no way to flex that there's no wiggle room for 5 points in here.
But it really, like, I don't have a Vanguard with a spear yet, but if anything was going to make me pick up one and build one with a spear, this would be the list.
Did you ever build one of them?
I got a Vanguard. I got a Vanguard with Ensorcelled Weapon, and I got a Vanguard with Demon Forge Blade.
That was the worst 20 minutes of my life building one.
You got to sacrifice those fingers anytime you're building chaos.
God.
It's cool to see. The obviously Nurgle Demons is just another great base to splash stuff into, and I mean pick 2 really good models in there. I think to put in the Vanguards. Yeah, Vanguard's always at the top of the list. What do I need? Mobility and an anvil piece. Cool, Vanguard. Does it need to kill as well? Still Vanguard. Great. And then Doom Bull is another really good muncher. Gets out there and starts blowing through stuff. 38 wounds on 4 toughness is a huge difference. I've played a lot of Korgoraths and they disappear in a hurry, only having 30 wounds. So it's amazing if they don't get a kill. Like, when they get double hit back, they really start to melt pretty quickly. So. I like that for the Doom Bull too. But yeah, 4 attacks.
My question is, why a Doom Bull over a FOMO Crusher or Orgoroid? I'm just curious. I'm not saying it's the wrong pick, but I'm just scratching my head on that.
I mean, the move, that first round move for sure.
First round move, okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. Fred's list that has the Vanguard with the Demon Forge Blade and the FOMO Crusher. That was scarier. Super solid. That won our last local tournament.
Yeah. You never know. It could also be. I know Krister's pretty into building lists, and it might not be the case in this instance, but sometimes you just don't have the models, right? And I know those have been a little harder to get a hold of, even with like the triple pack that came out with all 3 of the original allies. But also sometimes cool to play something new.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Stick it out there. But I do, tend to agree that it maybe for 280, the FOMO, probably is looking better. But I mean, it's hard to argue with second place too, right?
No, for sure. It results speak for itself.
And then honorable mention, I don't know what the ultimate place was. There was a game between Krister and Wombat, and there was something happened. Some rules got messed up, which kind of changed the outcome of the game. And so Krister wound up winning the game after losing. I think that's the long and short of it. But
mixed up the double for bonus toughness, I think, for the reaction.
For the reaction,
what happened. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a bummer. But cool list though, for sure.
But this is a solid list. So like we saw before, using Errant Quester Soulsworn as allies in a KO list. Here now we have a Annihilator Prime with the hammer again. This is the Thunderstrike plus an Errant Quester with Grand Spear. So you have that pack of allies built into your KO. So they're your big melee hammers, and then you still have the base. You have an Ether Chemist, you have 2 Ether Cannons, you have an Arcanaut with the Spear, 4 pistols, still 10 models, 1,000 points even.
It's great. It's a great list. I love the like we talked about Order Palooza with the Quester just to dole it out. I don't know actually if that's the one without the rune mark or if they could still do just a generic double, give something else a move.
Yep. Yeah. All of them.
Okay.
All of them can give the free attack. Yep.
Okay. I love the 2 anvil pieces with a very like ranged heavy like KO, because once you close down on them and you clamp down on them, or you don't give them that FFP setup that they really want, you can really just take the bite or the legs from them. I mean, if they get their setup, they roll hot with Aether Cannons. It is what it is. But having those 2 big tough bodies that are not that bad in terms of movement, the 3 inches are right, but it's offset by the Quester. And just throwing him in the face on a point while you go and set up and do everything elsewhere, I think it's really smart. And I think that's just the way to go for something that lacks that ability to sit on a point and fight it out, which is inevitably going to happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm. That 3-inch range is really nice too, because you're probably not using the double on yourself. So yeah, you've got great projection with that one too, and 5 toughness, like you said, sticking around for a while. Those 20 wounds always seem to disappear faster than you want them to. Whenever I've seen people playing with the Questors, but yeah, ideally you're not engaging stuff that's also hitting from 3 inches away, so you should be winning more fights against chaff and stuff like that. But again, another real cool iteration of the KO concept, and it's cool just seeing kind of the flip book of pieces that we know are good, and just to see how they interact and how they actually play on the table. And I think Wombat went pretty well the rest of the tournament too.
Mm-hmm.
4 rounds. I think he did pretty well overall. So yeah, cool iteration for sure.
Well, yeah, and the Ether Chemist really strong too. 6 attacks on the Ether Chemist,
Mm-hmm.
and then again we have the Annihilator. Some sort of Annihilator package, Annihilator ally package. Sometimes you see an Annihilator with an old guard. This is just that kind of beefed up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't. I think I was thinking at first, I was like, well, I didn't bring an old guard in this list, but I mean, you don't want to. You don't want Arcanauts move. They don't need to move the same way that the other stuff does. They want to get to their spot, and then they can just start shooting. So the movement isn't as crucial for them to have as a bunch to get shifted around. Interesting. There's no flyers in this list, right? For
nope,
KO.
no flyers.
All foot sloggers. So that's kind of. I feel like I don't feel like I've seen one without a single flyer in it before. So that's cool. It's
an interesting point to make, right? Usually you see at least like one Mizzen Master in all these lists or something like that. Like, what could you do? Thought experiment. If you're playing KO and you just choose not to use a flyer, it's more points for more Ether Cannons and leaders for Fight for Profit, and just more Arcanauts. I think there's probably something solid there.
Yeah, and it's pack dependent, right? Like, depends on what missions you expect to play. Right. There's going to be times where you need that mobility, but other times where you're like, no, let's just start shooting.
The lack of speed might not matter, right?
Right.
In some of the missions, you can just march your Arcanauts across the board, and they're going to get to where they need to get to eventually.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's exactly what it is, right? Because you only have one FFP here, so being able to sit down and be like, I'm gonna go in with my boys and make them absolutely devastating on the point, and I still can shoot with no minimum range up there, or sit back and hang out with some Aether Cannons and have some good range. I think it's actually, the more I look at it without the flight, the more it makes sense.
Do you know, was the deployment the Aether Chemist with the 2 Aether Cannons, or were the cannons split out?
I didn't have any sort of deployment groups for this one, for this tournament. I'd
be curious. Because you want FFP on the Aether Cannons just because you're lifting models in a hurry. But Eric from Dogs of Warcry, he played KO for a while locally, and I was talking to him the other night about it, and he said the biggest change that he made that he really felt was better with the list was with playing with Aether Cannons, was getting them separated from each other, so that sure, you can lose one, but you still have that good damage output. So this list almost looks like you put them in there.
That would be my instinct. Yeah,
because you still got a ton of bodies in your third deployment, because the Annie Prime and the Quester are together with one other body, and then you've got 4 Arcanauts to chuck in your other deployment group. So but it's cool. It's such an asymmetrical, if it is, right, this is all conjecture, but if that is what the three deployment groups are, you're really really spreading out in a really interesting way.
Thought experiment.
Interesting.
Thought experiment. What could you do with 3 ether cannons, 1 in every group, and a leader in every group, and then fill the rest out with Arcanauts.
Do you
Do
have
a
much
lot.
left for Arcanauts? Because you're playing, what, 90? You're playing company captains, right? The 90 guys for that list?
You could play admirals.
go
are cheap
admirals.
enough. You could play admirals or engine
Okay.
riggers.
Are they is the 90 points the cheapest one for him?
Yep, 90 points is the cheapest though.
So you got
Keep in
200
mind-
every deployment with that combo, and then you've got what, four Arcanauts to
Right.
to fill out. Or no, yeah, 4 Arcanauts total, right?
In theory, it's vicious, right? Because you could strike from any deployment group or anything from anywhere with an Aether cannon and just touch and really hurt. But it's really, really, really dice hungry,
Yeah.
and it's going to be up to the pilot to know where and when to utilize that. And those lists, although they're awesome, they fold to dragon pieces or pieces with charge or things that can just get in there super fast. They fold pretty quick. And if it's a company captain and not an admiral, like you said, the admiral would be primo for that because of the points. It can go real bad or it can go real good. I think you're going to get very polarized results from a list like that. And yet again,
Yeah,
it's like you said,
it's
all
got-
conjecture, but
It's got high war cried potential where like you're gonna win big and you're gonna lose big with that list.
Right.
There's gonna be games where it's not fun for you, and there's gonna be games where it's not fun for your opponent, and you're not gonna have a whole lot in the middle, I would imagine.
Yep.
But again, pack dependent. There might be packs where that's the simple best thing you can possibly do. Just play kill team, the war cry, the kill team version.
This brings us to a close for this episode of Dayton Warcry Club. Thanks for sticking around for this additional coverage. You can always chat with us on the official Warcry Discord, linked in the description below. On Discord, my name is War Machine.
I'm Arm War Enthusiast 7.
And I'm Girth Demon.
Thanks for listening.
And that felt like a sitcom at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I'm Girth Demon.
Dude, Justin like introduced me in the goddamn like Nova. He's like, it's Girthy. I'm like, you just say my name, but now everyone's like, what's up, Girth? Introduce her. This is my girlfriend. This is Girth Demon. Like, I don't think I'd ever introduce my wife. Be like, yo, let me introduce you to this sick guy, Girth Demon.
I mean, I'm not gonna call you by your name ever again in real life.
My name had to
you
get
the
changed
coffee?
from
What's the name
before.
on it? Girth Demon.
It used to be Vein Factory. That was the other one before.
That's
I'm still recording here. I'm gonna
Oh no.